So hello everyone, welcome to the Create Your Own Programming Language Hackathon. So before starting, we'll just go through the problem statement once again. There's a small quick slide of what actually the problem statement is in detail. Okay, as you can read, there are around 700 programming languages other than C, C++, Java, etc. Everything. But what are these programming languages anyway? These programming languages are something for which you give statements like English, like instructions, or any kind of in any language. Like today is English running, but in the future there might be many more languages. Any kind of language which you convert into uh, numbers, so that computer can understand what you're giving the instructions and give the output accordingly. That is the programming language medium. Yeah, so why are we trying to know about this thing? Because as you guys know, the hackathon problem statement is also the same. Yeah, the problem statement is to create a programming language on your own which makes most user-friendly and easy to implement programs. Coming to user-friendly and easy to implement programs, it's not mandatory that you're only doing user-friendly or implementing like that. If so, for suppose you could implement something which is easier for a branch of people, like easier for teachers, or easier for kind of saying blind people, something like that. But that thing in the end should be a easier programming language for a particular sector. Yeah, creating a programming language, as you think, you might go a little bit complicated, like, oh, this is like very tough kind of thing. I had to go like very deep into the subject and check the compilations and semantics and all. No, there is nothing like that. You don't need to, you know, go very deep. You just need to create your commands in English language. That's it. Just and try to, you know, divide it in such a way that one statement doesn't clash with another statement in your code. That's it. Yeah. So we will show you uh, actually what are the rules and the guidelines, also what should be followed, and I have created a example programming language so that you could be, you can actually refer that and create your own programming language. So yeah, mm, after creating your own programming language, we will be giving you three problems, like normal problems which you need to code in your own programming language, so that we think it is kind of, you know, it could be in a working state. Sure. So there are few rules also. I'll just go through the rules now. So yeah, these are the rules and regulations. So this document will be shared to you later after the session. Coming to the rules and regulations, these are the common rules rather than the programming language rules. So the rule number one is like to participate, you need to fill the form which has a deadline of tomorrow 10 p.m. So make sure that you fill it out, and you could create a team of three. So make sure of that too while filling out. So yeah, meet is started at 8:15, which is right now. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me now, or there will be a session tomorrow also. So you can ask me tomorrow too. And coming to the bonus marks for file handling, you will be given a, I mean, in the coming thing, I'll just mention it later. Okay, and You'll be having you'll be assigned a volunteer, and if you have any queries you can just contact volunteer or me myself, and you could just mail me if I'm not available through meet, and or you have any doubt that should be sorted, and we are actually not live at that time, you can just mail me, so we will come back to you. So after the three problems which you should implement in your own, uh, or in your own programming language, you'll be given one chance to actually validate your check your language. You can submit once, and we will just check whether the programming language is correct or not, and if not, where are the faults or where are the errors, we'll be mentioning you, and we won't mention you more than five mistakes. Like at most we'll be mentioning you five mistakes only. Suppose you have your programming language has some kind of 15 or 16 or 10 or 6 or any number more than 5, we will give only 5 mistakes, and we'll make sure that we will give you the major mistakes. Yeah, and the chance of checking will be from September 2nd to September 3rd, 6 p.m. Submission beyond this time would be encouraged. So make sure that you just submit before so that you can check. This is not mandatory. Checking is not mandatory, but you can actually check so that you'll have an idea about through where, I mean, where are you going actually. Yeah, you need to mail me the document when you submit to the same email ID above here, 21F105681, so that I'll check your mail ID and get to know, and we'll revert you back as soon as possible. And finally, you will be you have to create a video after finishing the document, and the video should also be submitted uh, maybe on the same deadline, like on the same deadline, September 3rd, 11:59. Your video should include what kind of data types and all that will be covering all. So I'll show you them and later come to these rules. So coming to data types, data types are you know nothing but the okay. You know the kind of variable you assign, like uh, data type is like nothing but a number or a text or a boolean or binary, any kind of thing which can be assigned to a variable. So you need to give data types for numeric, text, boolean, structure, and other data types if you wish. So what are these? I'll just tell you. Numeric data types are like you need to give a data type such that when you assign a variable that particular data type, like numeric data type, when you assign a variable a number or a fraction or something, uh, the computer should know that you are assigning it a number or fraction or like that. So for that you need to mention something that indicates for the computer that okay, you are mentioning an integer. So coming here, for like I created my own example language, so I'll be showing all my example language examples. So I created something like my number. Like in C and Python, we will be having int, float, etc. So in my language, I introduce something like my number, which will which will assign a variable an integer value, or you can initialize any variable as an integer. So I'm taking integers, float values, fractions, and also complex numbers. This is a complex number. I is the root of -1. But you can ignore the complex number. You should make sure that you're giving a data type for int and fraction. I mean float values, which are decimal values. And also you need to mention. Okay, I'll just come to that later. What all you have to mention. Coming to text data type is the same thing. You need to tell your computer that whatever you're taking, that is a text, or whatever you're initializing a variable, that should take only text. Okay, so I created same thing, my text, which can take strings, a character, or multiple lines. So you don't need to go deep into indexing about this. Like if you are aware of programming language, I think you know what is indexing. So there's no, I mean, you don't need to go in detail about indexing. If you wish to go, that is uh, appreciated. Otherwise, it's okay. So you have to give the text data types for single characters and for multiple characters, which is this and this, like a line, and multiple lines. Multiple lines is optional, which is if you wish to give, you can give. So I gave data type saying my text, which takes all of these single character, multiple characters, and multiple lines of characters. Sure. Okay, then coming to Boolean. Boolean is basically true or false. You can just I created a data type saying my bool, which assigns or initializes a variable as a boolean, take an input as boolean. So a boolean data types, in the boolean you have only two things, either true or false. So this is a very basic thing. Either you can give true by t or false by f. I gave true by t and false by f. You can follow any other things, yes, no, etc. So coming to structures, structures is something deep actually. So structures is nothing but it is a collection of data types. Like suppose you want to store student details of your class. So you want just a single data type, which I mean single variable which can store multiple you know data types, such as name, age, and gender. So for that you can call something known as structure. So in that structure you can implement multiple data types and assign them in a particular manner. So for example, I'm giving in my own language saying my combo. So my combo student details is my text. Here you have to even initialize what all data types and in which variable you're taking while you're initializing your structure. Okay, if you're aware of C and Python, I think you guys know about this. So I'm taking the name of the student, age of the student, and gender. Gender actually I made it my bool because if he is male and if this value is true, then he is male. If he is false, then he is female. You can also change it to female actually. My bool is female. If this is true, then she is a female. If this is false, then he's a male, like that. And after that you need to give student details and random guy. A random guy is a variable. Student details is a structure. So you are assigning this a structure to a variable called random guy. This random, you can write a random guy or a, like mentioned here, a or B or C or D. Okay, I'm just giving for reference a random guy. And then you need to mention something which says that this is that variable's name which you have stored. Like I took an underscore here. You can just take a full stop or you know a slash or anything, but you make sure that for suppose if you take a slash, then you make sure that when you divide In the coming section, we will be coming to mathematical operators. So in that, we actually use this as a mathematical operator for dividing. So make sure that you have some other, mathematical operator for dividing when you include your structure like this. Okay. So by giving this, the computer will get to know that you're actually assigning variable name of structure random guy like Mahesh Babu. Random guy age 42. He is male T. In the same manner. Okay. Coming to other data types. Other data types, it is like it is up to you actually. But this will be considered as a bonus when there is a tie between you and some other team. Then this can be used as a bonus point actually. So it's up to you for including it. You can include anything like. Okay, in my language, I gave the other data type as myVect. So myVect, I'm actually using this data type to calculate, to store a vector actually. So the number of dimensions you give uh, by an exclamatory mark, you have to separate by an exclamatory mark. This is my own example. You can also create your own example for myVect or saying my IP, like storing your IP address or whatever, whichever which is convenient to you and whichever you thought that if this data type would be there, then it would be very comfortable for you in programming. You can include that. Okay, so sure. So let's go to variables. Just a minute. Yeah, variables. You can assign any alphabet symbol as a variable except numericals and single characters which are used in any other statements. Like, see guys, I used underscore here, right? So I can't assign an underscore like my text underscore is equal to, I wrote this 10,000 times because underscore is already meant for separating I mean sub, identifying data type of the structure, right? You identifying name of the structure, you need to separate with it a underscore, right? So in my language you can't actually use underscore or you can't actually use this also like this a underscore n because my in my language underscore actually means that a is a structure and n would be a data type of the structure. I mean a variable of the structure. So yeah, you can't assign any numericals also because this would be an wrong equation actually because this is a numerical. There is no variable. Variables are meant to be alphabets or any characters rather than numericals. Okay. And also you can't give my text because my text is also already given as a data type. So you can't include in data types and you can't include you know any what we say any mathematical operators and you can you shouldn't include braces because these are already used for strings, right? So make sure that you don't you know actually clash with anything. uh, Actually you can leave this as a blank and go to mathematical operators, complete your mathematical operators, and then you can come again and say that You can't assign in my language variables as all these, you know, plus, underscore, and all, right? Okay. So I hope you understood how variables are going to assign. Okay, so let's go to mathematical operators. From here onwards, I'll be showing examples. Okay, fine. I'll show you the variable example also, how I represented in my language. Okay. See, variables, restrictions for alphabets. Any alphabetical character can be represented because I didn't use any alphabetical character for such a certain operation, mathematical operation, or any kind of representing or anything. Okay, restrictions for special characters. I used exclamation mark for vector, so I can't do this. I used this for structure, I can't do this. I used all of these for mathematical operations, so I can't do this. I use bracket and braces and all for indexing and storing, storing arguments for functions and all, which you'll see in the coming topics. And these are also conditional things, and a dollar which I included as a mathematical operator, like that. Okay, so I never used this character in my language, programming language, either as a mathematical or whatever kind of statement. So I can actually include this. So it is like that. Okay. So like this, you have to also give the restrictions. If you would like to restrict all the special characters, you can write all. And if you want to restrict all the special characters except this thing or a hashtag, then you can just write all except this and this. Okay, you don't need to mention a long, you know, long list of special characters which you don't have to mention. Okay, this is how you need to represent variables. So yeah, mathematical operators. Mathematical operators which can be you know given any kind of, but single alphabets are not allowed, because there are certain reasons single alphabets are not allowed, because most of us at most of the times use a single alphabets as arguments for any kind of thing. So it would actually won't be convenient if you actually give something like a or b as a mathematical operator, then you know the user might not find it actually user friendly. So that's why we have included this thing. Yeah, make sure you don't use the characters which are already mentioned for others, like a underscore thing and exclamation mark thing already mentioned for you know it's below. For vector I mentioned exclamation mark, right? So you can't use it for mathematical operators such as a plus b. You can't do this because it is a structure of data type my combo. You can't do this also because we give this for strings, and you can't give a data type in middle also. And I use new thing $a$b, which is a minimum of a and b. So you can also do something which gives you know a minimum of a and b, such like a dollar. Instead of dollar you can do dollar. You can give how many number of characters as you wish, but make sure you won't include these all. Okay. Chalo, let's go to input statements. Input statement is nothing but the thing which you want to give as an input to the computer. Suppose you want to give an input like you know, anything which has to be executed. Like if you want to find a square root of certain numbers, you actually give the numbers to the computer. But how the computer should know that you are actually giving the computer certain things and which data type you are giving to the computer, right? So for that we need to introduce input statements. Okay, so your input statement also should mention what kind of data type you are taking as input, so that your computer has an idea that you're giving a new number or a string or a boolean value or whatever it is, whatever your vector or a structure or something, whatever. Okay, so for example, in my language I have given here that my input, my number a, takes any number as input. So when you write this, my input is actually the, the thing which I actually gave for a input statement. So whenever I write my input, then the computer should understand that I'm actually giving you an input. So you can write in your own language saying your input, or something else, like whichever in your programming language is suitable and whichever is suitable to you, or you can write it like I want to give my number a. So this is like actually convenient in English that you can understand. So like that, whichever is convenient to you, you can write it out. So for my language, I wrote it as my input for an example. And after that, which data type are you taking? Okay, I mean, which data type are you giving to the computer? Okay, in this case, I'm giving an integer, so I would include my number because my number is a data type for which I actually gave the integer or a float or whatever. So if you want to give a string to the computer, then you need to include your input statement, I mean the input code which you have implemented, and then the data type, and then the variable in which you want that to be stored and executed. Okay. If you want to, you can also mention this. This is an optional thing. If you want to take multiple, like if you want to take an integer, I mean if you want to give an integer and string both uh, as an input, then this would be my example, I mean my example in my language. So in your language you can also include it as one line, or you can separately take an integer and separately take a string. This is optional. Okay, so yeah, and yeah, your format should include any mathematical operator also. Like like before I said, you shouldn't clash with any of them, like underscore, plus, hash, and all. Okay, and also you can include like default also. Like for suppose you are taking only my input a. Okay, then you can say by default this will be whatever input you give, that will be stored as a string. You can mention that also to be clear actually. Okay. Output statements. So previously we discussed about how to give input to the computer, right? So this is about output statement, which is about how to get an output from the computer of your executed code or whatever desirable, output you're willing, I mean desirable statement you're willing to expect, or any other thing which you want to give an output from the computer. Okay, for that I mentioned something like my output. So whenever I write my output, uh, the computer would understand that I am actually giving out an output for the user to see about what is the output. Okay, so the computer will understand that okay, this guy wants to give an output of this so and so number or a text or boolean value or whatever. Okay, so you in my thing I included a string and in middle a, and I have a apples in my basket. So a is an integer. So whenever I give an output, if suppose a value is 10, I have 10 apples in my basket would be the particular output. So I actually included like that, something new. You could also include anything like that. It's up to you. But make sure you include like this for each data type. And if the data type has nothing to do, like here I didn't include any kind of data type because whatever you're giving, you'll be giving in a particular, you know, printing would be visible in a, in the same manner, whichever the data type be. Like if you give my number A or my text A, the same thing would be like my number A is equal to 10. If you print that, you get 10. My text A is equal to 10. You print that, you get 10. So there's no difference, right? So I actually didn't include data type, but if you want to include any data types, you can include it. Okay, coming to conditional statements. Conditional statements are used in a programming language so that you are aware of what are you doing actually. I mean, while comparing. So suppose you have a person. Okay, you have so and so person, and okay, fine. You have 100 students in your class, for suppose, and you want to check from each one of them uh, if he has money or not. Okay, and if he doesn't have money, you will be giving 100 rupees, for example, things like that. So for that, for that kind of statements, you need to actually code a program, right? And no kind of mathematical operators could actually do it because you need to actually give something that your computer should understand that if and only if this condition satisfies, you have to do give him 100. You should not give him 100 if he has money. So like for the computer to understand this, you need to give a conditional statement. Okay, take the same thing as an example, and let's come to my language later. In C language, we all know that if we write if else. If you guys don't know, uh, you give an if condition, and inside that you write the condition, whatever condition like. So think that each student we are giving them a structure, and suppose say Raju money. Okay, this is a structure variable which stores the amount of money which Raju has. Okay, is equal to 0. Okay, if he has no money, then we will give Raju money is equal to 100. Okay, else if suppose say Raju money is equal to uh, 100, then we could leave him alone. This is not necessarily is equal to 100. This is actually not effective coding because already he has 100, so you don't need to assign 100. But this is just an example to show you how if else works. Okay, Right. Shallow. So in Python, if, elif, and else, right? So in my language, what I implemented is I wrote something like is. So is Raju money is equal to 0. Is Raju money is equal to 0? Then Raju money is equal to 100. Not then is, again you check Raju money is equal to 100. Then code, not then code. Uh, and not then you can code, and in then also you can code. But if you want to give a nested, like a nested if condition, you need to type like this. Instead of giving not then like this and going for is, in my language you have to just give not then is. So this is actually convenient for me. You can also find whichever convenient is to you, or you know, whatever is like a friendly, user friendly thing. You can just include it. Okay, these are conditional statements. And also, yeah, conditional operators. You need to also mention the conditional operators you're using. Here I wrote is equal to, right? This is actually equal operator which checks whether this value left hand side is equal to right hand side. And if it is true, then this whole thing will be will be converted into a boolean, then it and will be given as true. If not, it will be given as false. Okay. So make sure that you give a conditional operator for equal to, greater than, or less than. Okay. And while you give multiple statements, for suppose is Raju money is equal to 0, and then you can write then is Raju gender is equal to male. Right. So you're just writing 2 to 3 sentences, right? Instead of this, okay, instead of this, you can write here itself and Raju money. Oh, sorry. Gender is equal to male. Okay. So this represents that if his money is 0 and if he's male, then go. Instead of writing 2 or 3 statements, you could just give an AND operator which checks if both of them are true, then only it will come. Okay. And you need to give another operand saying or if you give or, either one of them, either Raju money should be 0 or his gender should be male, then only you'll be going inside the is condition. Okay. So this works like that. So you need to mention this and or operators. You can directly write and or you can give whatever suitable to you. Here I gave and as and operator, and for or I gave 2 double slashes, which we also already use in C language, I guess. So yeah. Now it is okay to actually copy the operators, but make sure that you don't copy the condition statements and all, you know which requires naming instead of characters. Okay, coming to loop statements. So Loop statements actually provide you the convenience of uh, writing a single line, code instead of writing multiple lines of same code. So if you want to print, for example, if you want to print my name is Mahesh Babu for 1,000 times, you can't keep writing 1,000 times my name is Mahesh Babu, or you can't, copy paste, go on copy pasting. Instead of that, uh, suppose I mean this is C language. So in C language, instead of that, writing 1,000 lines of code, you could just write one line of code and tell your computer that repeat this line of code for 1,000 times. Okay, so telling the computer to repeat or go in a loop, or whatever thing, that thing you need to mention in a naming, like how C has for and while has naming for loops, and in Python also you have the same thing, for and while. Okay, so you should also be naming your own. Uh, Naming must be different. Uh, I mean, the procedure might can be almost same, but naming must be different. Okay. So in C language, as most of you know, we will be assigning a random variable in for loops, saying I is equal to 0, and for I less than 1,000, and I plus plus. I plus plus is nothing but I is equal to I plus 1. That means increment the value of I by 1 after each loop. Okay. So I is equal to 0, this code runs, and I becomes 1. So 1 is less than 1,000 runs, 2 is less than 1,000 runs, 3 is less than 1,000 runs, and so on till I value is 999. 999 less than 1,000 runs, and I value becomes 1,000. So this condition is not satisfied. So the for loop stops here. So like that. I hope you understood. So to be clear, printf. What should I try? Oh, my name is Mahesh Babu, kind of thing. Okay. Instead of writing 1,000 lines of code, you could do this, or you could go for a while loop, which includes the same thing. Printf, my name is Mahesh Babu. Okay. And give the value of I as, increment the value of I. Make sure that before going while loop, you need to give I as 0. This is not your, this is just an example to make you understand what is I. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. It's auto correcting. Okay, I'll just. So 0 value 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be running like that till I is equal to 1,000. Or you can just type it as I less than 1,000. Both mean the same because we are coming from 0. Okay, in my language, I took my loop, and I took the syntax as mentioning my loop. So by writing my loop, the computer must understand will understand that I am trying to give a loop, and after that I'll be giving a data type I, and the computer will understand which variable to take as a variable particular asset for the loop to run. Okay, this will be my starting index. I mean starting number. I value is 1 start at start, and I value is 1,000 at last, and I should be incremented by 1. This is my implementation. Okay, till I goes from 1 to 1,000. with 1, I mean I increments by 1, do code. Okay, and you my loop I is 200, do code. This is same thing like a while loop. Okay, before you need to mention int I is equal to 0, my loop I is 200, I is not 200, then code. Oh, I is not, okay, fine. Okay, I is not 200, do code, and at last I will be writing I is equal to I plus 200. So what will this do? After one loop, it will say I is 200, and this condition won't satisfy, and it will break. So my loop does this thing. So for your language, you can create anything like that, which tells computer to take a loop and a particular variable and a condition to break the loop. Okay, coming to storing multiple data, right? Uh, multiple data storing multiple data, people who have basic knowledge about C and Python, you guys know in C we store multiple data using arrays of integer or strings or anything, and in Python we have a list, uh, sets, tables, dictionaries, and also arrays. We have array, linked list, all kind of data structures. Okay, this is also same thing. So for people who don't know about programming, uh, you need when you want to store maybe names of your 100 classmates in your school. Okay, okay, and when you want to store them, you want to store in an organized manner so that it would be easier to call out your student. For suppose say, let's write it here. Uh, my language, I would say my text A is equal to Raju. Okay, B is equal to Ramu, and so on. CCC is equal to 100%. Oh, okay. If I assign like this, and I suppose I want 56th person, so I should be actually searching in the code somewhere where is this 56th person, what is this guy's name, and etc. Okay, so this is actually very difficult when you want to store in a large scale. Instead of that, in C, I'll explain in C. Okay, this is only my text. Fine. Instead of that, in my text, in my language, I'm explaining. I don't want to go into C, shift into C. I would say something like this: my text A of 100. So this should become a data structure at which it will say store multiple, multiple variables. I mean multiple strings, and I would say like this: A of Raju, Ramu, on 100%. Okay, hope I'm clear. So like this when I do, and I want somewhere like, as I said, 56th person or 79th person, I would just write, okay, what this actually does is, this Raju is there, right? This will be stored in A of 0. Okay. The computer will understand by this notation that you want to store 100 strings. Okay, and in A of 0, your first string will be stored, which you gave here. Okay, Raju. A of 1 will be Ramu. So in every programming languages, the indexing will start from 0. So be careful about that, and so on. A of 99 would be 100th person. Okay. So this is how arrays work. If you want 56th person, you would write 50A of 55. You would just directly access instead of looking in the whole list of where is 56, counting from 1 to 56 where you want to check. Okay. So in C language, we say it as an array. We increment this in this manner, and also in C language, we actually write the data type before so that we are sure that I wrote this int or string. Okay, this is the other one. Okay, fine. Okay, if you want to write int a of 100, you can write 1 to 100 and so on like that. In Python, you don't need to mention any data type. It will take multiple data types in a single list. So Python works like that. So you can also in your language, you can just mention them as array or list. In my language, I mentioned them as series. Okay, and my series would be like this. Uh, I would give indexing first, and then give the all variables. Okay, by default it will take 0 to 100, but if you want to give a special indexing, then my language would do this. If you want your first one to be indexed as 1, then you can write it like this: 1 to 50, or this one can be written 1 to 100, like that. And also my series will take a random, I mean a string as an index also. So this is what I included. You can also include your own in a more convenient manner. Okay. Okay. Coming to functions. Functions are like you know instead of writing a repeated blocks of code. Suppose you want to compute for, let us say, squares of sum of squares of two integers, and in your whole code of 300 to 400 lines, the same code has been written for you know let's say 10 to 15 times in random positions. If they are at a single position, then we could have given a for loop and loop it for 10, 15 times and do it actually according to us. But when we have it in some random positions, we can't go for loop because at random positions the code is meant to stay at their own position for a particular reason. Okay. So for that, we will be executing something called functions. Okay, like how we have learned in our school, f of x is equal to x square plus x plus one, something like that. And when you write f of 0, then you would execute x as 0 and tell the value is 1. The same thing, functions work in coding language also. You would write function name and what all arguments you want to give. In mathematics you write x, so in the languages also you write whichever variable you are taking with subject to change, the change means particular outcome which you are expecting the particular outcome with respect to which variable. Okay, let's say in C language. Okay, this is the pseudocode data type for returning value from the function name, and arguments from the code. After executing the whole code, whichever you want to return. If you want to return an integer, then you have to give a data type here in C. If you want to return a string, then you have to give a data type. Okay. In Python, function representation would be by def. Okay. The same thing, but you don't need to give a data type. Okay. So in my language, what I'm doing is I would give some same naming as function func, and I would give function name, and I would give what all the arguments should be passed. Okay, for a very basic example, I would do this function sum of squares. I would write sum of squares. You can write give it any name you want to give for the function. I would take two inputs a and b, and I would return a square plus b square. Instead of writing return if I equal and write an expression, the computer will understand that this want to give this function wants to give out a square plus b square. Okay. Coming to function is prime. Function is prime of a. So this function will check whether a is prime or not. Okay. Mm, right. So to check a particular number is a prime or not, we would check that number is actually divisible by any number before it, right? Suppose you want to check 17 is a prime number, then you would check if 17 is divisible by 2 or 3 or 4, so on to 16. So I would take a loop, say I starting value as 2 and end value as a minus 1. If a is 17, then a minus 1 will be 16. And I didn't include any incrementation, but maybe I could give it as 1. My default incrementation would be 1, so I actually didn't include, and I don't want to confuse you guys, so I did like this. So my loop I do is a mod I is equal to 0. In my language, mod is the function which gives out remainder when when a is divided by I. So when 17 is divided by 2, what is the remainder? If the remainder is 0, then it is divisible, right? So like that, I'm checking for each thing. If it is divisible actually, then return false. Then it is not a prime number. It is actually divisible by so and so number. So if it is not used by any of them, then this line won't be executed, right? Because it won't satisfy this condition and it will return true. So this is a basic example of how a prime number will be executed in a function. So giving an input integer, I will be giving output a Boolean value. Out on your own. This bonus is also, um, will be we will actually let you out about how this bonus thing works. For now, other data types thing only will be taken into consideration when you have a tie with another team. Okay, but file handling thing, we will actually we don't want to put more pressure on you guys, so we are also thinking this as a tiebreaker. But if everyone performs really well and complete your thing, and if more of them are like very competitive and all, we can make this bonus into the main thing. Okay, these instructions are also not given, so like I would expect you to follow the same instructions which I gave all this. Like if suppose you are like really confused about this, then see, you could just write mm, some variable f, okay, is equal to will sim path of the file, something c x.txt. Okay. So actually, for opening a file, we use fopen in C. But you can write anything like kulja simsing or whatever. It's like your wish, but make sure that you give a good syntax. Okay. Okay. This is the thing we have discussed, and these are the examples which I have discussed in the above rules. I gave in a very detailed manner so that when you read this, you would, actually understand how it's actually going to get, like how you actually have to create a programming language. This is nothing like very complicated thing. You can just type out anything. It's like your fantasy. See, like I gave $1 for finding minimum of A and B. Okay, you can just uh, type anything else. A of let's say suppose A and B. Okay, if A or B, oh already I included this one here. Okay, fine. You can include A at the rate B. Okay, when you include A at the rate B, you can actually say that um, okay, max of A and B, just like that. Okay, like see when you uh, for suppose you have five integers. Okay, suppose a person is giving you five integers and said you to find out the topmost integer. What you will do, you'll take a for loop and you will just compare each with everything, right? Instead of that, you could write a dollar b dollar c dollar d dollar e. Okay, for some t is equal to a dollar b dollar c dollar d dollar e, which would give you the maximum value in the array. It's like that. Okay, you can create any kind of thing so that it is convenient to you when you solve a particular kind of problem. Okay, input output statements, the same thing. But input statements, you make sure that how are you telling your computer that when a person is giving an input, uh, which data type the computer is taking. Okay, suppose when you write my input, okay, suppose you wrote a very normalized, very simplified programming language saying my input or okay, any kind of string and a. Then the computer should understand that a, when you gave a input to a, you gave a string or an integer or a boolean or whatever kind of data type. Okay, make sure that you mention that. If you're not mentioning, just explain in detail how the computer will understand that it is certain data type. Output thing, you can, it's optional to mention the data type. So conditional statements. Okay. Okay. Conditional statements, the same thing. So yeah, these are the rules and how to implement a programming language on your own. Okay, this document will be shared, and separate document also will be shared about only this my language implementation, so that you can refer that and you can actually give your own answer. And yeah, if there are any doubts, like I said in the common rules section, you just need to mail me directly, and I'll just reach out to you as soon as possible. We will be providing you volunteers email also soon, and if you don't get the response from me very, you know, in desired time, amount of time, then you could actually contact them too, or you can actually mail all three of us in a single mail. Okay, so yeah, you guys have a time of like tomorrow till tomorrow 10 p.m. You can actually register for the event. So I hope you'll register for the event, everyone. This would be a fun session, and also don't hesitate that oh, this is like creating a programming language is a big thing. Like, but I showed how simplified I created my own programming language, and it just took me 2 hours to actually implement this programming language. So just imagine how you can do it. Like it's possible for each and every one of you. You just need to think what you know the heading is over here. The heading is output statement. Okay, my language should give you an output statement. Okay, I'll do that. Simple. Conditional statement. Okay, I'll give a conditional statement. I need to mention some conditional operators. I'll do that. Simple. Um, After that, after implementing your own programming language, think about how convenient you can convert it. Okay. First, just try to mention each and everything with very random, whatever strikes to your mind, and then try to simplify it. All right. And coming to the last rules, right, which I said I'll come again. Yeah, so you need to create a video about all these things. How did you create and all? The video should be a minimum of 3 minutes, and make sure you won't exceed more than 10 minutes. It's like a general thing. Suppose uh, just record a video and say, my numeric data types are this and this. This data type will take a number integer. This data type will take a float and fraction, something like that. Okay, example, just like that. You just mentioned that. Wait, I'll show you. Okay, suppose think this is the thing. This is your answer sheet. Okay, just say numeric data type. I took this data type. I would represent this data type for integers like this, for float like this, and all. Just go fast and all. Like make sure that it's only 3 minutes. Okay. You don't need to explain the problem statement which we will give you. Like we said that we will be giving you three problems, right? Which you have to code in your own language. For that thing, explanation is not needed. But to be sure, if you give the explanation for that one also, then while evaluating, it would be easier for us. Like suppose your code has something which is not clear actually. So when you explain in your video, we'll actually refer to that video and okay, he's meaning that so and so is assigned to so and so, and our doubts are also clear, and it could give you you know better evaluation about the programming language. All right. So yeah. And yeah, you need to fill all the fields required. Like other than bonus, you have to fill everything, the data types and all. And yeah, coming to the indentation, like see, oh actually, okay, okay, okay. In if else statement, is Raju money is equal to 0 or Raju gender is equal to male? I'm saying that then do some kind of this thing, right? But when are you ending this line? That is the matter, right? So either you have to give a tab space, which you want to execute inside this is condition, or you need to give a braces or whichever kind of thing notation. Okay, suppose like this. Okay, so inside this brackets, whatever code is there, that will be run in these both any of these both statements is true. Okay, it will be executed if and only if this or this is true, like that. So in my language, I gave most of them for indentation. Like I just gave a tab space. So when there is a tab space, then this thing this thing will be executed everything which has a tab space inside. And if you want to come out of the is loop, you just need to type wherever the is indented. Okay. For suppose you want to write not then is, and again you want to come back to is function only, then you need to give a tab space again and type your code. Okay, it's like that. Or you can give a bracket or whichever thing, but it should be clear that this is inside this is condition for conditional statements, loops, functions, not arrays, functions. Okay, make sure you just give that indentation or nesting properly. Okay, the results will be announced on 4th 6 p.m. Winners will be given certificates from our side, and t-shirt. Okay. So yeah, this will be this is actually the rules, and I'll like wait a minute. So this is my language which you have seen in the document already. So we will be giving you a Word document like this. Okay, and we would expect you to fill in the same format, everything. Okay, you are so for variables you need to give restrictions and representation, and for data types you need to give description and representation. Maybe I have the file. Um, I think I don't have it. Oh yeah, I have it. So this is the thing. This is your question paper actually. Okay. Your name of language, your taglines, front page, whatever you want to wish to give a tagline or what note. Okay. So your team number and your team members. So there are three, maximum of three. If possible, we'll try to consider one more. We'll think about it later. And heading. Okay. Okay. All right. So introduction. This is 50 to 150 words. Actually, we wanted to give the weightage for each and every thing also, but we are actually. Um, I mean, I'm not particular about giving a weightage because when I give a weightage, maybe most of you concentrate on the higher weightage and leave the lower weightage thing. But this problem statement is not which is to be done partially. You know, right? A programming language can't be done partially. If a programming language is partial, then there is no meaning of creating a programming language, right? So that is the main objective of not keeping, marking scheme for this, a scheme or you know, evaluation scheme. Okay, so description. representation like this. You will be given your question paper. You just need to fill everything and mail me for checking. Okay, you need to fill these all and mail me for checking. Okay, below functions, you need to type uh, problem one. Okay, you'll be given three problems. You can type problem one and write down the code. Okay, and okay, your output could be in any format, but it should be a correct output. Like, suppose we are expecting you to give a list of natural numbers from 1 to n. Suppose if you give an input as 6, you have to give output as oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You could give this output using 1 comma 2 comma till 6, or you could give like new line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this, or you could give like a string saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is okay, but main objective should be the output. 1 to 6 numbers should be visible like that. Okay, we are not particular about the output, but it should be correct. That's it. We are not particular about the output format. Not sorry, like not output format. Okay. So yeah, this is actually the thing you guys need to do for the hackathon. So I expect a great participation, and yeah, any kind of doubts will get you sorted and teach everything. And yeah, you could just mail me, and mail of the volunteers will be displayed on the same Google Docs. You guys will be, you will be given the Google Docs very soon. Meanwhile, try to form a group of three. If not, you can just opt, you know, uh, to be in a group randomly in the Google form. I mean, in the type form which you guys have been received by now, maybe. Yeah. So this is it. Okay. And I wish you all the best. And make sure you take this as a learning part rather than taking it as a competitive. It is like exploring a new side of you. Creating a programming language is like exploring a new side of you rather than like being very complicated about the programming language. Okay. Yeah. So have a nice day, everyone, and hope I would see very great participation from your side. Over to you, Harrier. Yeah. So we are concluding here. And yeah, everyone, like I said in the meet, we will be again meeting on 10 o'clock after everyone has submitted their forms. Okay.